the Montbello Falcons. This is a legendary Little League football organization. It's located in Montbello, Colorado, by way of Denver, Colorado. But this football organization is so important to this city, to Montbello. Like, for instance, they had their park where they used to do their practices at. It was called Maxwell Park. But the reputation of winning culture there and the talent that came from there, they changed the name from Maxwell Park to Falcon Park. That's a big deal in my opinion. When you change it from a city changes the name of a park because of a football organization. That's something that means something to me. And it's something that the city of Montbello should be very proud of, the Montbello Falcons organization. There's a lot of talented players that have came through that organization throughout the years. But I'm going to talk about a specific time period and two particular teams, the Falcon White and the Falcon Blue Montbello Falcons. And they played from the years of 1991 to 1997, meaning 1997, that's their last year of Little League football before they go to high school. And they would be the graduating class of 2001. And that's when this particular group of Falcons played. So I'm going to get into it right now. So my backstory, if you know, I was like in a very, very traumatic accident when I was 4 years old. I had a family member die in this auto accident. We were coming back from a family vacation, and, just a rollover happened of a van. I flew out the windshield, cracked my head open, had to have emergency surgery and stuff like that, And I pulled through it. Obviously, I did pull through it. But my first few years, I had to get acclimated, being active again and everything. And I couldn't play no football at all. But I love watching it. And a little bit I could do and play was just like at recess or just in the front yard where I was living. That's all I could do. But I finally got to be able to play when I was 11 years old. That was my first time able to play Little League football. And I didn't want to play for the Montbello Falcons because they had all the talent on the team. And it wasn't like I wasn't going to play or nothing. It wasn't that reason. It's just because I wanted to challenge myself because I knew they was the best already at that age. Let me see if I could play against them in organized football. Obviously, it didn't work out like that. But I'll get back into that later. But these two particular teams, so I'm going to start with Falcon Blue first. So Falcon Blue, and this is just off the top of my head from what I can remember. If there's other people that I haven't mentioned, feel free to comment on it. We can go back and forth with the comments. I ain't got no problem with that. But the people on Falcon Blue that I remember was Keith Casey, Aaron Wallace, as I know him as Aaron Wallace. I want to say Demetrius Young played on that team. I want to say he did. That's my brother right there, Demetrius Young. Patrick Hardaway, of course. That's my dog right there. There was Steve Griffin, I believe. He played on that team. He was fast as hell. I remember that. I remember he was fast as hell. I want to say Corey Woodbury. That is my brother. That is my dog right there. He played on Falcon Blue, I believe. I believe he did. He could have played on Falcon White, but I believe he did play on Falcon Blue. But he had him. Oh, my boy, Ken. Ken, man, like he had put this picture up of when he played on the team when he was real little, but I think he moved to Georgia. He ended up moving to Georgia, but he still played on that team. He was on Falcon Blue. Who else was on there, Falcon Blue? I want to say Antoine Peoples was. I could be wrong, but I do believe he was on that team. But that was pretty much their strength of their team that they had on Falcon Blue. Now Falcon White had Marcus Hill. That's my dog too. For instance, when I think of number 30 for the city of Denver, I don't think of Terrell Davis. I think of Marcus Hill. Like, that's the number 30 I think of. So, but we'll get into all that in a little bit. But Marcus Hill, My dog John Quinn was on the team, number 19. My boy and my dog SC Mike, number 82. My boy, God rest his soul, Lloyd Jones, my dog, number 36. I want to say Jerry Butler was on Falcon Way. He was a linebacker, but he was vicious as hell. He was vicious as hell. I remember that. They also had Shelton. I remember him, the big defensive tackle. He played it too. He played it too. I'm trying to think. Nathan Poindexter, I believe, was the quarterback on that team. He was the quarterback on Falcon White. The quarterback, I believe, on Falcon Blue was, I believe his name was Dutchman Akers. And he used to give hell. He was number 16. I remember seeing the back of his jersey. Let's go back to Falcon White, though. So we had Nathan Poindexter, number 7. I believe he was on Falcon White. He was the quarterback. And then they had George West, number 20. He was also a quarterback, I think. There's somebody I'm missing on Falcon White, though. They had he was a little guy. He was fast. Stephen Bolin, I remember him, number 8. My cousin Jaron Pack, he played. He was number 29. He was on Falcon White. There's some other guys that I'm missing that I can't think of right now. But anyway, let me get back to the whole point of the video. So all the players that I have mentioned, and I'll say this, those were the 2 teams in the Aurora Youth League, the AYL. They could not be beat. Both of those teams was vicious, talented, respectable, smart, intelligent, and they were very well coached. If you are trying to aspire to be a Little League football coach, you need to go find one of those old Montbello Falcon coaches that coached them from 1991 to 1997. They had them boys ready every week. I mean, every week. Matter of fact, I remember Falcon White, they had a song, like an anthem, that they would do when they would go play away games before the game started. And it was like their own rendition with the Montbello Falcons, but it's, the George Clinton song. And they would intimidate people with that song. I remember hearing it like a few times. So like if we didn't play them, like if you, back in the day, if you went to go play, there was going to be other games either ahead of you or after you, depending on the time of day you played. So if you had like a 9 o'clock in the morning game, there's going to be a game probably going on like after you. So you'll be able to see the team afterwards. If you had 11 o'clock game, obviously the 9 before and 3 after, whatever, you'll be able to see multiple games. Once you get to see these games, like you would see that and they would come on the field and they just had this swagger about them. They was confident, cocky, and they had every right to be, especially Falcon White. They didn't even lose. I think they only lost like 2 games in their whole time period from 91 to 97. I think only 2 games. I could be wrong. And this is coming from, God rest his soul, my boy Lloyd Jones. He said the one game that they did lose, a girl was a quarterback. It was like somewhere like in Erie, Colorado, somewhere like far. And they said they could not, Lloyd Jones said this to me. He said they could not stop her. That she was just, I don't even want to imagine what she's doing now. I ain't even gonna go there. But anyway, but that particular team, Falcon White, they was like always like a juggernaut. I remember players on the team that I played for. So I played for the Cardinals back in 94. So I remember that team I played on. It was my first year playing organized football, so I had to get used to it and everything. But the thing about it is I got to play running back in that game against Falcon White. And I gained 5 yards on my carry, my only carry of the game. They should have put me back in the game. I probably could have got a few more yards. I probably got lit the fuck up. by 82-36, and Butler and Shelton and Marcus Hill and all of them probably would have got lit up. John Quinn, they probably lit me up. But hey, I still gained my 5 yards, whatever. But that particular team right there, they were a juggernaut. I mean, they were just very talented. Falcon Blue, they're the same. They was a juggernaut as well. But I think they might have lost a few more games, but not. It ain't an extreme amount. It might be even the same. I'm trying to think. They had a guy. I think he was on. He might have been on Falcon White though. His name was Howard, and I remembered him when I was little playing at the rec center. They had a basketball league at the rec center, and he had a box. That's how I remembered Howard with the box. And he was like number 34. I want to say he was on Falcon Blue though, but I could be wrong. He could have been on White, but you know he was like a good like linebacker type. That's what he was, I think. And you know they had speed. Like I said, the Steve Griffin dude, that dude was fast as hell. Corey Woodbury was fast. Marcus Hill, man, if you give Marcus Hill a pitch on the corner, you're not catching him. He used to remind me when he used to do that play, he reminded me of like Marcus Allen. He would run like Marcus Allen. Like he really would run like Marcus Allen like that. And if I could compare him to a pro, I would say he was like an Adrian Peterson type. You know, he was fast and strong. You ain't tackling him by yourself. You got to be just as strong as him to tackle him. And, you know, John Quinn, he was a great defensive end. Like, you know, he went and took his talents to Adams State, actually. He went to Overland High School, but he went to Adams State, and he did well there. But I'm jumping a little too far ahead because these dudes were so good. Now, if I had to say who was better, Falcon White versus Falcon Blue, if they had to play a heads-up game, I got to go with Falcon White. Just a smidgen. I'm sorry. They was just that good. I'm sorry. But this is the best thing about it. I was expecting them to win a state title when they went to Montbello High School. I was expecting a lot of them to go to Montbello High School. You know, I was expecting not all of, like both teams, everybody to go there. I was expecting to see that. I was like, I think they can go and win the state championship. I really do. Like, they could probably win that like 2 years in a row if they're juniors and seniors. Shoot, they might even be able to challenge it as freshmen and sophomores. Who knows? But something happened. I don't know what happened, but half of them got to Montbello, and all the talent didn't go there. Marcus Hill, who I thought was arguably the best player, he played freshman ball there. And then I heard that he went to Thomas Jefferson. And then you got to remember back in the day, Thomas Jefferson, they had like Marcus Houston, Corey Ross and stuff. They already had some people over there. But I still personally believe Marcus Hill was better even than them. And I just never got to see him extend his football career. And he was like a great player to me, in my opinion. But, you know, they still had like, you know, like I said, I mentioned John Quinn. He went to Overland. A lot of different players. Lloyd Jones, he went to Overland. You know, a lot of different guys went to different schools. Like, they would go to, like, Overlands, Mullins, and stuff like that. They didn't all stay together. And, you know, I don't understand that, you know. But, you know, it happened, and it's whatever. Also, you got to also keep in mind the gang element came into play. You know, some guys didn't go to school no more, you know. So that came into play. You know, just growing up, you know, might lose interest. You might just want to do something else. That came into play. And, but one thing, they still was talented enough. I remembered in 2001, the graduating class of 2001. So the playoffs of the 2000 season, that's their last year of high school ball. So I remembered, you know, that 2000 year, they got to the playoffs, and I believe they got to the second round, but they lost. And that's one thing I'm going to be working on a little better, is they don't keep high school records like good here in Colorado. Like you got to really be searching for stuff, and if you find something that's incomplete and ain't even really accurate, so I might try to work on that and get that better. Because a lot of people like looking up stuff like that. I know I do. But I'm trying to remember the team they played, and I can't remember. But they like lost in like I want to say they got to the third round, maybe the second, but they got to like the third round. But that was their highest finish as a team, and I just believe that team was so much better, than what they put out there. I never understood how they could dominate, and this is just all the way around the board, how black youth football teams can dominate other schools that are predominantly white, and they could dominate all these other different teams. But when they get to high school, it doesn't match up. Like, it's like, what happened here? It's like the coaching just gets extremely better at these schools like Cherry Creek, Mullen, and stuff like that. It just gets that much better. And like, I don't know why that is, and I'm not gonna question it, but it just happened. It is what it is. It's whatever. But I'm gonna be doing an in-depth documentary about the Montbello Falcons organization soon. But I want to just get something started talking about, a little bit of bits and pieces of stuff from my recollection and my experiences of playing against them and stuff like that. But I also grew up in Montbello, and the city is so important to me. Like, it's everything. I've done lived in 3-4 different states and everything. And everything I had learned, everything, top to bottom, everything that I had learned and everything, it got applied in those places. And it let me know, like, if I can do this here, I could do this anywhere. So I'm very proud of where I'm from, Montbello, Colorado. But yes, those particular two teams, Falcon White versus Falcon Blue, I have to give the edge to Falcon White. Now, if there's anybody on those teams that I didn't mention, please feel free to let me know who's on those particular teams that I didn't mention. Because, like I said, off the top of my head, those are the guys I remember. And that would give me hell. I remember they would give teams hell. Like I said, they was vicious, talented, smart, intelligent, no nonsense, swagger. They had all of it. They was like the Miami Hurricanes, the U. They was like the U. I'm talking about the U from like 2000, 2002, them U teams. They was dominant like that. They had talent top to bottom. I mean, they was a force to be reckoned with. So, but yeah, that was my little quick video about the Falcon White versus Falcon Blue debate. And I'm sorry, y'all, Falcon White, they get it by a smidgen. All right. And that's going to be it. I'm going to do other videos coming up soon. I might do like a top, who the fastest ones were, the best defenders were. I might do something like that. But until next time, peace.